What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and today we need to talk about Sundial stock, ticker symbol SNDL, because this stock is actually very close to hitting 52-week lows, and it's actually been getting some incredible news as of late. We have some really good news on the Alcanna front, on the legalization front, and we also have some interesting remarks from Warren Buffett that we're going to discuss regarding Sundial stock. So we're going to start off by taking a look at the chart and seeing that today we both went through a pump and a crash, right? So Sundial actually pumped up to 58 cents in the pre-market on this Alcanna news that we're going to discuss very shortly, and then proceeded to crash down below this 53-cent support level. And if you look at the past 90 days, you'll see that Sundial has used 53 cents as a support level twice. And today we finally broke through it, hitting lows of 52 cents on our way to a potential 52-week low. If you look at the yearly chart, the 52-week low that we've been at is 49.5 cents, and we're currently at 52. So we're not that far off from hitting a 52-week low. In fact, if we move down below 50 cents by basically any amount, we'll be at a 52-week low for Sundial stock. And regardless, even if we stay at the same price for the next week or so, then eventually, this chart will continue moving on, and we'll be at a 52-week low anyways. So Sundial is in a rather poor position stock price-wise at the moment, but that just means that it is extraordinarily cheap. And that actually ties into something that Warren Buffett has often been discussing, right? And so we're going to pull up this quote from Warren Buffett right here. "Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful." And this is one of my favorite Warren Buffett quotes because it epitomizes essentially how to be a good investor in the stock market for the most part, right? For the most part, when stocks are moving down, that's typically when you want to be buying. You don't want to be buying on these euphoric runs when a stock moves up and up and up. Typically, right? Because the higher a stock moves, the lower likelihood that you're catching it before it hits the top. And the lower a stock goes, the more likelihood that you have of catching it near the bottom. So essentially, the lower Sundial goes, as long as Sundial doesn't go bankrupt, the better of a buy it is from Warren Buffett's perspective, right? As more people have more and more fear around Sundial stock, despite really great news surrounding the stock and amazing fundamentals for the underlying company and a very bright future ahead of them, right? Those are the ingredients that you want to have in a stock if it's going to perform well over the long term. As long as you have that, and you have a lot of fear that's pushing the stock price down and down and down over the past almost a year, we've been getting pushed down for. Ever since early February, we have been getting crushed stock price-wise, and we have all the right ingredients to actually have a very successful company. In fact, we're going to talk about some of them very soon, but Sundial stock has just been getting pushed lower and lower price-wise, making it a better and better deal, at least from the perspective of this Warren Buffett quote, right? About being greedy when others are fearful, and fearful when others are greedy, right? Ideally, you want to be selling on the pumps and buying on the dips, and that is the exact opposite initial reaction that a lot of traders and investors initially have, right? When you first see a stock like this that you've been holding and it's making your portfolio look very, very red, your initial reaction is to sell and get out of dangerous way. But Warren Buffett has proven over the long term that investing how he does, about being fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful, does tend to pay out more over the long term, as he is one of the wealthiest individuals out there. Now, doing the opposite of what he suggests is exactly what the shorts in Sundial want, right? There are currently about 271 million shorts in Sundial, about 13.23% of the free float, and that has increased by 0.15% today. So shorts are hoping that you, an investor in Sundial, if you are an investor in Sundial, will be selling your shares, right? They want you to sell your shares and push the price of Sundial down even lower. And it's not only shorts, it's also people who have sold Sundial call options, who want Sundial call options to go completely out of the money, right? There are 100,000 open interest call options on Sundial expiring this Friday at the 50-cent strike price. And the institutions that have sold these likely want Sundial to close below 50 cents on Friday, right? They're probably trying to generate some fear by selling potentially a decent amount of shares of Sundial and push the stock down. So we'll see what happens by the end of Friday if we end up closing above or below 50 cents. But regardless, there is a lot of fear swarming around Sundial stock right now. And a lot of that fear, I think, is unwarranted, right? Because we have had some incredible news come out. Even just today, we had news about Alcanna come out. So Sundial's Alcanna acquisition is now just a few steps away from closing after a final court order approval. So essentially, what this means is that Alcanna announced just earlier today that the court of the Queen's Bench of Alberta has granted a final order approving the previously announced plan of arrangement with Sundial Growers. So it has gotten the blessing of the court, and they're free to go through with the acquisition. So Sundial and Alcanna should be merging fairly soon. We don't have an exact date yet, but they should be merging fairly soon now that the final court has been processed, right? Now that the final court has processed this acquisition and approved it. So all in all, good stuff is going on for Sundial on the Alcanna front. Now keep in mind, for those of you who are new, and who might not know what Alcanna is, it is Canada's largest private liquor retailer, and they also have a subsidiary, Nova Cannabis, that has a bunch of cannabis shops open in Canada that will be able to start carrying Sundial's products, and that will contribute to Sundial's earnings. So all in all, really good stuff on the Alcanna and Canada front. We also have good legalization news. South Carolina has a medical marijuana legalization bill that will be on the Senate floor next week. At least that's what the sponsor of the bill says. So all in all, things are looking good in the United States as well, right? We actually have a very interesting situation in the United States regarding cannabis legalization. A lot of states are pushing for it to happen in 2022, and that could actually drive a lot of pressure at the federal level because there are some things going on at the federal level that a lot of people aren't happy with. In fact, if you look, Biden's disapproval rating has hit new highs as voters give him bad grades on the economy. And one thing that voters really don't like that much about Biden, at least that we believe they don't like that much, is that he is not the keenest on cannabis legalization. And that's actually part of the reason why we might be seeing it this year, right? As his disapproval rating grows, it's very potentially possible that you will need to do something before the midterm elections to start getting more in voters' favor, right? And those midterm elections are in November, so potentially, since there are all kinds of states, South Carolina included, potentially legalizing cannabis sometime soon, maybe in 2022, it would make sense for potentially federal legalization to occur sometime before the midterms, or at least for a push from the Democrat side for federal legalization to improve the approval ratings, right? So essentially, we're looking at a situation where both Democrats and Republicans are on board with legalization. Overall, polls show overwhelmingly that people want cannabis legalization, both for medical cannabis and recreational cannabis. And we're looking at a situation where it's very possible that we'll see it sometime this year, right before the midterms, as both sides try to garner some additional support. So obviously, we'll have to wait and see on that. We don't know for sure what's going to happen, but it does bode well that people are disapproving of the party in power at the moment, because that will put some additional pressure on them to find ways to improve their approval ratings. So all in all, good stuff on the approval rating front. And just to reiterate, a potential catalyst for Sundial that has been in existence for a while, that has not been acted on yet. They do have a share repurchase program, just for those of you who've forgotten, where they can buy up to $100 million, 100 million Canadian dollars worth of outstanding common stock for Sundial. So the company has some cash on the balance sheet that they want to use to return value to shareholders, and they plan on doing that with the share repurchase program, which they'll likely want to wait until Sundial is in an uptrend for, right? They don't want to just catch this falling knife and basically have no impact, right? Their share repurchase program isn't going to be enough to completely stop Sundial from falling when these small market cap stocks are in such a horrific bear market, right? A lot of these low market cap stocks, Sundial included, have just been falling and falling and falling for the past many months, and Sundial alone, with the cash that they have for the buyback, cannot stop that from happening, right? They can aid an uptrend fairly well. They could dampen the damage a little bit if they decided to do the buyback on the downtrend, but overall, the markets will move as they will, and Sundial's buyback isn't going to be enough to completely stop this downtrend, right? They'd much rather use it when Sundial is on the up and up to help contribute to momentum and get Sundial back above $1 so that they can get back in compliance. And if you guys don't know about why Sundial needs to get in compliance, make sure to watch the previous video I released where I discuss all of that about the potential Sundial delisting. So other than that, guys, that's what we've got on Sundial today. All in all, really good news and some really inspirational stuff from Warren Buffett. At least I think so. And other than that, keep in mind that none of this is financial advice. I'm not recommending that anyone buy or sell any shares of stock. I'm just letting you guys know my opinion, as well as some of the Sundial news that's out there. So if you guys appreciate that, feel free to subscribe to the channel. And other than that, guys, have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.